Hello again to everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Charles Nathan, your friendly guide, helping you to navigate the shadowy swamp that is the modern British state. Today we're taking a look at the work of the Justice Committee and their recent hearing concerning the proposed appointment of Lynn Berry, CBE, as the chair of the Judicial Appointments Commission. Now, this is the government's preferred candidate for that role, and the JAC is quite important because, as its name suggests, they're the people who get to decide who becomes a judge, so it could have far-reaching implications. The Justice Committee itself consists of 11 members. There are 2 Conservatives, 2 Liberal Democrats, and the rest are Labour, so it's heavily skewed towards the Labour Party, but they're the party in power and they do have a large majority, so that's not particularly unexpected. As always, down below in the description, you'll find a link to the Justice Committee page on the UK Parliament website, as well as a link to the entire unedited hearing if you want to have a look at that. You'll also find a couple more other interesting links, but we'll get to them in due course. Now, this was not an especially exciting or explosive hearing, and in fact, nobody bothered turning up to see it at all, which is a bit of a shame because here we have a great example of how the blob really works. And we'll get into that as we go further through the video. The hearing started quite politely and went on quite politely, and it was very uninteresting for a while until Dr. Neil Shastri Hurst, Conservative, asked a very simple and unambiguous question.
Do you agree that merit alone should be the sole consideration?
Now, most people, myself included, would have simply answered yes to that, but that's not what Lynn Berry said. She said that other considerations apart from merit are allowed within law, which is a very interesting way of framing it, and we'll see why in a minute. She then went on to say this.
I have to say I found it really interesting that there's quite a lot of, quite a few different views of what merit looks like.
So there it is. Blink and you could easily miss it. What Lynn Berry has done there is introduce the possibility that there may be some ambiguity around the idea of what merit means and some discussion around possible alternative definitions. Now, curiously, she doesn't expand on what those ideas and definitions mean, but nobody in the committee bothers to ask her either, which is kind of telling in itself. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but my idea of merit is pretty straightforward and it's pretty much the same as everyone else's I've ever met. So I too would be curious to find out what these alternative ideas of what merit looks like actually are. But we're not going to get those answers from the committee, are we? So there's a brilliant example of how the blob actually works in real time. If merit is a barrier to your goals of diversity or whatever else they might be, all you need to do is simply redefine what merit actually means. Change the definition, and then whoever you want to choose as a judge will fit that definition because you've altered what it means. It's really as simple as that, and that's why it is so important to push back on redefining commonly understood words. This is what happens if we don't do that. Suddenly, merit means something entirely different to the government and the committee blob than what it means to ordinary people, and the disconnect gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, if anyone's wondering how I know this has got anything to do with diversity per se, the evidence is there for all to see. This hearing lasted roughly an hour, and around about 45 to 50% of that time was spent specifically on the subject of diversity. So it was uppermost in the entire committee's minds, and Lynn Berry was quite happy to answer all those questions. Not only that, but we do have it in writing as well from other parts of government. The blob always leaves a paper trail. There's something called the Judicial and Legal Diversity Board. Yes, Lynn Berry mentioned it during the hearing and I'd never heard of it either, and I'm a terrible nerd. So I looked it up. There's a link down below, just in case anyone didn't think that was a real thing. Yeah, it surprised me too. But I don't know why it surprised me, to be honest. Now, it turns out that the Judicial and Legal Diversity Board is responsible, among many others, for driving forward the Judicial Diversity and Inclusion Strategy. Yes, apparently judges have got their own diversity strategy as well. Now, that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you combine it with Lynn Berry already prior to appointment trying to nibble away at the edges and push the door open to a reinterpretation of what merit actually means, then we have a recipe for disaster going forward. Now, it'll be all right for her. I doubt Lynn Berry will be sitting in front of an unqualified judge in the future, but some of us might be. And don't forget, in the future they will all have been appointed on merit, but they've just changed the definition of what merit means. Will they actually do that? Well, I'll put money on it. Why else would you even discuss the issue? So that's it for today. I hope that's been informative. As always, links are down below if you want to have a look at all this material and check it out for yourself, because this is the blob in action. This is how it works. You won't see the results of it today, but in the future, when the definition of merit has been changed, who knows what could happen and who could be in which position, possibly making decisions that directly affect your life or the lives of the ones you love. As always, please like, share, subscribe. Do feel free to comment down below. It helps to keep the channel growing and it helps to get the word out, because always remember, our ignorance is their power. Take care, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye for now.